we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. DBSH, what's up, man? Yo, it's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Josh and I are doing something tomorrow morning where we get you up to speed. So it's going to go out a little bit later than normal, where we're talking about one battle after another, how it did at the box office. Was it a disappointment or was it a success? Or was it somewhere in the middle? We'll talk about Paul Thomas Anderson's latest effort with Leonardo DiCaprio and more. Go ahead and talk about that. Plus, another Xbox price hike. Yay. All right. Fun. All right. Well, there you go indeed. But again, go ahead and hit us up. Pop Culture Cosmos right there for you, wherever you get your podcast. What's up, cool bro? Long time no see. Your Rams. Yes, they beat the Colts today. There you go. All right. They're 3-1. See what happens to their season. I know you're happy about that. JSJ, good to have you here, man. Your confidant, cool bro, is here in the house with you. DBSH, there you go as well. Absolutely. Hopefully I will get a chance to jump on your channel to go ahead and talk about Lakers coming up this season. So absolutely would be very interested to see that and be a part of that as well. Best League is here. Go ahead and check out what Best League has as far as he channeled his inner Laker Tom to go ahead and talk about what he thinks what trades will work for the Lakers that will make them a better team. Now, it takes two to tango on that. It takes two sides to go ahead and agree upon that. So is what Best League proposed going to work? We're going to have to go ahead and find out by check it out first. His great article that's available now on our YouTube page. It's actually where the notes are. You'll see it right there for you, right there from Best League. Truly appreciate the time that Best League took to go ahead and write that article. Cool bro is very happy. He hasn't been 3-1 with the Rams since 2021. It could be better. Could be worse. Could be the Angels. Heading for another disappointing season. Mike Trout looks shot. Yes, I know he had a homer, but gosh, this is not the Mike Trout from 5 years ago, that's for sure. But I'll just say this again. Dodgers looking a little bit better now. Angels looking a little bit worse. Rams. Raiders here, Xbox. I don't know what to tell you and Sean. You know, Geno Smith throws and completes more to the other team than his own team. I don't know what's going on with that. But tell you what, it's going to be an interesting sports week to discuss. Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Hopefully we'll get another episode this week. Hopefully we will actually do Lakers Fast Break Radio this week as well. Would love to go ahead and do another 3-hour show. You guys seem to enjoy it. The guys behind the scenes seem to enjoy it. So hopefully we will go ahead and do that as well. Yes, your inner Laker Tom, Best League, with the trade proposals. I'm not going to say crazy, but that's the trade proposal nonetheless. We'll go ahead and check out what Best League's doing on our YouTube page right there for you. Intel Wild, what's up, my friend? Always great to have you here. Dodgers versus the Reds. Yes, Dodgers versus the Reds indeed. Clayton Kershaw looks like $1 million, and hopefully he and the Dodgers will go on another run for another world championship. Cool Bro says, I think the loss against the Eagles will be our only loss this season. Oh, here we go, Cool Bro. I don't know. I think whatever Laker Tom smokes is actually mellowing to you. You will not go 16-1. If you think you are going to go 16-1, you're smoking something. But okay, playoffs is definitely doable. But I'll leave it at that. Cool, bro. What's up? Yeah, absolutely. I agree. GSJ 2-block field goals is impossible. Yes, it is, but it happened today in the NFL. But we'll go ahead, hopefully, be able to cover the NFL this week with not only the Lakers Fast Break Radio, but also Inside Sports Fantasy Football as well. Truly appreciate you joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out what we're doing today as far as our NBA team previews. Have you caught up? I have been working very hard on that. I've got over 30 interviews in the books, and I'm bringing them on out each and every day, one and one more and one more. This weekend, we covered our crosstown rival, the LA Clippers. I had two great interviews over the course of the weekend with Ilian Lakani and Jared Knobloch. Hopefully, you get a chance to see that. If you're a member, you're already seeing it because for just $2.99 a month, I give it to you 24 hours in advance. So go ahead and check it out, but it does become available to everybody else afterwards. And tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping the Memphis Grizzlies with Dr. Josh Greer. So look forward to that as well. So with all this good stuff, cannot thank you enough for your support as we get back into the swing of things. Media Day is coming up here tomorrow or this week. Training camp is coming up this week. Everything is looking good for the Lakers as far as health-wise so far. Keep your fingers crossed, everyone. So with that, we're going to talk about the training camp primer. This is your training camp primer, and I'm hoping the guys will stop by. I asked John Costa if he could stop by. He said he'd try. Joe Soro, he went, I don't know. So maybe he'll stop by. Xbox, hopefully he'll jump in. We'll see what happens. But Search is here. What's up, Search? Great to have you here. Yes, JSJ did really miss you, cool bro. Yes, he has asked about you quite often. But everyone at my sailing program hates the thing. I think that Stafford is better. Oh, cool, bro. You never change. The more you grow up to be a man, the more you never change. Just you stay the wonderful person that you are. But truly appreciate you joining us again. It is the Lakers Fast Break. Cannot thank you enough for stopping by. But Lakers training camp is this week. Media Day with whatever will be talked about. My good friend, Mr. Jamie Sweet, who was on with me on Saturday. I stepped in for the Lakerholics and did the Lakerholics show with him. And he is convinced LeBron will announce his retirement tomorrow at Media Day. I don't know if it'll be that far, but I'm sure he'll be asked about it at the very least. So we'll see what happens with that. But I want to talk about the certain positions and the certain battles and the certain things that JJ Redick has to start thinking about going into the season as we play these 6 exhibition games, as we go into training camp. What are we trying to do as far as the rotation is concerned? So the questions that are out there, obviously, number one is who is the starting lineup? Who are the members of the starting lineup? You heard Joe and I, we differ on opinion on that. Jovan Buha, who I used as example, said it's obvious for him that you take Rui out and that you put Marcus Smart in. Joe, I think if you heard the other day on the show right here, he says you take Austin Reeves out, put him on the bench, and then you put Marcus Smart in. I say that I have to wait and see Marcus Smart being healthy first for about 15 to 20 games, be able to give you 20 to 25 minutes, and be able to shoot anywhere from 34. I'm not even asking for a good level. I'm talking 30 average. If he can get you average 3-point shooting percentage, that would be amazing for him because he's never been able to sustain that over the course of his career. So if he can get close to that and play decent defense, even good defense, not the defensive player of the year. I think anybody who thinks he still has that in him, I think it's just asking a lot and too much for a guy that's now 31 years old and could be a older 31 because of all the bumps and bruises and effort that he gave while he was a Boston Celtic. I need to see, because of that fact, how durable he's going to be. So I need at least 10, 15 games. Give me 10, 15 games. Let me see how it works. Let me see the dynamic. If he plays substantial minutes, if he stays healthy, if he stays out on the floor, if he doesn't start getting these nagging injuries piling up, then obviously it's something we want to revisit. I'm erring on the side of caution to the guys that were there before. And mind you, the Lakers offense is better with the traditional lineup that we had of Rui, Austin, LeBron, Luka, and DeAndre Ayton. mind you, that's I think the offense would be best for that, but the defense is very much a question mark, and I will never argue with anyone on that end. But I just have to see if Marcus Smart is healthy, and the exhibition games are not going to do it for me because they're just that, exhibition games. I need to see it in actual play. How healthy is Marcus Smart at this stage of his career? And that's what I want to see, because 54 games in 2 years is a big question mark. I know Joe tried to pass it off, as he always does, in the big bad, 54 games, you know what? And I told him right to his face, I said, you know what? It is something. It does mean something. If you can't see that, then you're blind, because 54 games in 2 years, he has not been able to stay on the court. And to me, that's an issue. That's a concern. I just want to see how it works with Marcus Smart first before you put him into that starting lineup. If the starting lineup is there, the experiment, he can dance. He'll be in the. You know what? Joe Soros in the chat, putting in the loser comments that he always does. Joe, have some balls. Get up here on stage and start talking. Start doing your yip yap. But again, as I said, 54 games is a question, and Joe can't even escape that. He can't. Joe can't deny it. He can't escape it because, again, 54 games in 2 years. He's been often injured. His career started to slide in his last year at Boston. I need to see what we have left in Marcus Smart before you put him in that starting lineup. Asterisk anyone. Ha. Yeah. Well, if you had balls, get it here up here on stage. Get here on camera. Come on. I'm testing your manhood. There you go. All right, that'll get him going. He'll be here probably in a few minutes then. It'll be good to see him, though. Haven't seen him all weekend. But it is, of course, Gerald Glasser. Thanks again for what everybody's out here. Search and destroy. Yes, Gerald 1 and Joe 0. First quarter. Absolutely indeed. Gregory, what's up, my friend? Great to have you here. It is the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. Again, one of the major questions is, what starting lineup will JJ tinker with or put out there during the course of the exhibition season? Again, do you rely more heavily on the Lakers offense, or do you rely on what little defense that they have that could be there, i.e. in the form of either Jared Vanderbilt or Marcus Smart? And Jared Vanderbilt is a key question coming into this year. Can he give you any effective minutes? So he has to show out in training camp. He has a lot to prove. He got that, if you remember, that extension 2 seasons ago. And it looked, why? Because, almost immediately after, he got that double foot surgery, and he was out for that year. He came back last year and really was a shell of himself on both ends of the floor. Defensively, he was okay at best, but he obviously didn't make an impression. And offensively, Joe and I have talked about how bad it looked on the offensive end as well. So with that, that's another key question. Can Jared Vanderbilt become once again a reliable part of the Lakers rotation? That's something that will have to be hopefully signified and hopefully solidified during the training camp and exhibition game period. The thing is, what's the rotation going to look like? Because again, if JJ just sticks with the 4 plus Ayton, the 4 that were starting in the playoffs last year plus Ayton, and then he has Jake LaRavia, who a lot of people are high on. I'm intrigued by what Jake LaRavia might give us here. And at $6 million per year for the next 2 years, I don't think it's a bad deal at all. Even if he bellies up, you know what? It's a deal that you can easily move out or add on to another contract if you want other players. And then, of course, you talk about Marcus Smart being 6th or 7th guy, Jake LaRavia, 6th or 7th guy coming off the bench. Jackson Hayes, by default, is your backup center. That has got to be a little bit of concern, how many minutes you can leave him out there before it starts to really show itself, as far as maybe not the best thing. But again, he is our only real backup center, unless you want to put Maxi Kleber out there. What kind of player is Maxi Kleber at this stage of his career? He's been terrible his last 3 seasons in Dallas. Then he got injured. He, of course, in the Minnesota series, JJ did try him that one time, and it didn't look good at all. So with that, is there anything left in Maxi Kleber, or is it just a player who's playing out the rest of his contract or sitting on the bench the rest of his contract and heading back to Europe? We'll have to wait and see. Gabe Vincent, with the addition of Marcus Smart, Gabe Vincent becomes a less needed factor to some people because of the fact that Marcus Smart might get more minutes from the backup guard position if he is coming off the bench. So with that, Gabe Vincent has to prove that he can still play at an NBA level. Otherwise, this is also his last year of his contract. Again, I mentioned that seven prominent Lakers are in the final year of their contract. And in doing so, they are financially incentivized to really play well, which, again, should have you thinking that during the regular season, it might look, like another 48 to 52 win team, which would be right there in the thick of things in the Western Conference. Kurt Affair, what's up, my friend? Great to have you here. It is, of course, the Lakers fast break. Hopefully the guys are going to come on, and we'll take that. Kurt Affair says, "Gee, is Maxey the backup 5 or third string 5?" Kurt, based off the player I've seen the past 3 seasons coming off the injury, he is the third string 5. At this point, what does he give you? He had, I believe, it was a foot injury and foot surgery on it himself. So with that, we don't know if he'll even bounce back. But this is the last year of his contract, so he's incentivized to play well. If he can find anything as a power forward / center like he once did to earn the last contract that he did, then that's a bonus for the Lakers. If he can shoot 40% from 3 and go ahead and get you some rebounding. Obviously, he's not a rim protector, but as a positional defender and rebounder back in the day when he was actually very effective for Dallas, that's what he was. But I would have to see it. He has to show out. He has to show out in training camp and exhibition season to get minutes ahead of Jackson Hayes. I believe right now going into the exhibition season, Jackson Hayes is the backup 5 at this point in time, unless something proves itself in training camp where Maxi Kleber is the player that he was, as Frank will tell you, several seasons ago. Besley says, how about giving minutes to Maxi instead of Vando at 4? Again, it all depends. What does Maxi have left? Because Maxi Kleber, I think, is 33 at this point in time, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go ahead and type it in here. But I think Maxi Kleber is 33 years old. So with that, he is past his prime. How much does he have left? I think what JJ will do first is he'll look at the known properties, the Vanderbilts, and give them the shot ahead of a Kleber first in the exhibition season. And if it doesn't start to look good, then he'll try to give Kleber a chance, an opportunity to go ahead and win some minutes. And it's there for Kleber. Again, as I told you guys, this was one of the worst benches in the NBA last season, and it only improved by 2 individuals this offseason. So there's still a lot of question marks after player number 7 on this team. And with that, any one of those guys, the Gabe Vincents, Maxi Klebers, the Dalton Connects, the Jackson Hayes, and you know what, as much as I hate to say it, the Bronny James, there are opportunities for those guys in training camp and the exhibition season to earn regular minutes once the season starts. Now, are any of those guys up to it? We'll have to wait and see. But again, they have been a very disappointing bench last season. And I think with the 2 additions of Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart, if they're coming off the bench, will help the Lakers quite a bit from the bench standpoint. But still, does it make us an average bench in the NBA? I don't know if I'd make us average. I'd still put us below average or slight below average, but they're closer to the mean. And that will definitely be a help for the Lakers. Cool, bro. May the force be with you as well, my friend. Do well in school this week. Continued success to you, my friend, and wishing you all the best. And happy for your Rams that they won. Kurt Affair says we already know who's 1 to 6. What order is 7 to 9? Laravia, Gabe. Well, Laravia, I think because of the fact he's the off-season, the shiny new toy to come to the Lakers from what Rob did in the offseason. Rob seems, I think, is probably really patting himself on the back because I think he's one of those putting one over on the other NBA teams with Jake Laravia coming off by far and away his best NBA season. So he's still very young, and he's still young per se, and he still has got a lot of room to grow. He hasn't even hit his prime yet, Kurt. So I would make Laravia the number 7 guy coming off the bench, and then you put Gabe in there. You have to put in Hayes, I believe, and then there you go. Oh, looky here, looky here.
I'm mobile. I can't. I'm been mobile all evening.
Okay. The story of Joe. He is here. It is Mr. Simblades himself, Mr. Kirk Lazarus, aka Joe Soro. All right, my friend. Again, some of the questions leading into training camp that JJ has to figure out and try to answer. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the other night in regards to what that starting lineup is. I know we went into great detail on it, but the guys coming off the bench, which player in your determination is the player that most likely needs to prove himself in training camp and this exhibition season?
Marcus Smart.
Okay.
Because he will be the X factor if he is available and effective. Rui and Austin are gonna likely play the same way at the very least, like they've played. So that's good. DeAndre Ayton doesn't really have anything to prove. He just needs to be available, and he's already better than anything the Lakers had after the AD trade. So I'm not really looking. I haven't really put a lot of thought in DeAndre Ayton and his performance. I just don't see him being a really, really great, and I don't see him being really, really bad. I just see him kind of do his thing. But Marcus Smart could be the difference maker because we'd have at least one decent perimeter defender that could allow the Lakers to have a chance when they need a stop. And if we had 3/4 of Marcus Smart in terms of his Defensive Player of the Year ability in a couple of those Denver series, maybe the Lakers are a little bit more competitive there. Maybe they win some of those late games that they lost because they weren't able to stop Jamal Murray from hitting shots. So that's the guy. I think that's the one. But a lot of, the cynical part of me says, guys that get let go by teams aren't usually going to set the world on fire. That's kind of where my head is right now. I'm hoping I'm wrong, though.
When it comes to Laravia, I think he is a key factor as well, Joe, when it comes to the fact that, he was this time last year, Memphis hit him up with that, okay, we're not going to let you finish out your rookie contract. We're just going to let you on your way. And he played half the season. With Memphis, then got traded because he was going to be a free agent because they didn't extend his contract. He signs in the offseason for relatively, I guess, the NBA affordable $6 million per year. But he's someone who hasn't even hit his prime yet. Now, Best League is in the chat saying he shot less than 3 attempts per game last season from 3 on 40% shooting. I think he'll get more looks. He'll get more minutes. And again, this is a test to see whether or not if he is really gaining some momentum before he hits his prime, Joe.
We have to factor in the Laker pressure, the big light pressure. He'd have to get beyond that, even if he were to hit his prime.
The famous LA lights. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. And no, I'm not laying down, Jay. I'm sitting in a place. There is, I think the most important part of what the Lakers are going to need to do is they're gonna have to figure out for the first time in I think 5 years almost what their identity is going to be.
Mhm.
They haven't had an identity since 2021. 2021, they were a defensive juggernaut, and that was with AD missing a lot of time that year. And they had just hit their stride going into that Phoenix series until AD got hurt again, and then that run ended abruptly. After that, it was a continuous fumble on the front office, on the leadership of the team, trying to adapt to other teams, I guess, prowess or lack or thought of prowess. And they never really they blamed the issues on the wrong people. Frank Vogel, and from my view, was treated ridiculously bad and disrespectfully. I actually thought Frank Vogel was the perfect coach for LeBron, especially LeBron, because he had a knack of community and understanding and was a company guy, but also was able to coach one of the really most important things in basketball, which is defense, right? And at a time when defense was limited because of the rules. And the Lakers, in my view, really screwed that up. And the roster got screwed up even more with the Russell Westbrook trade. And then after that, they got the worst coach you could have gotten at the time, whom didn't help matters. He didn't help create an identity. He created more of an excuse machine that didn't verbally say the excuses, but you could see it in his demeanor and his body language that he didn't ooze any confidence. He didn't ooze any ability that said we know what we're doing here. It was just basically just do the basic stuff and react to it, which that's what you see in 99% of most coaches in all sports. It's either they've got something unique or they're just plain Jane, and some can get away with it with the right amount of talent, and then you'll see some coaches ascend and separate themselves from the pack just by seeing how they execute and how they motivate their team. Basketball's even harder because it's so talent driven. Doesn't matter how great of a coach you are, you still need talent. But even then, you could see remnants of a good program that kind of puts a regular team into maybe a very good team. But it doesn't last long, especially in today's NBA, more so now than I think I can remember. So right now, there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of question marks. I don't have a feeling yet on anyone yet, like where they're going to be other than Luka. I believe Luka is going to be astronomically better than he was last year, but that's easy to assess. But I actually want to see if he's going to win the MVP. If he wins the MVP, the Lakers are likely a top 2 team. And if that's the case, then something must have happened with the roster where things went well and the coaching got better. And obviously, Luka is probably dropping 39-9 at the very least.
Once again, it is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. We truly appreciate you joining us. I know John was here earlier doing thing for his Lakers Corner, so go ahead and check out what he's got as far as a Lakers season preview right there for you at Lakers Corner. And also want to give a big shout out to Drip Show. Again, you guys, you've seen all the really cool stuff at Drip Show Shop on Facebook and Instagram. You've seen all that cool stuff. You've seen the cool stuff that Joe's wearing. You've seen all the cool stuff that as far as what he got as far as from canvas art, what I got from canvas art, Empire Jeff, all these great things. You can have that too. Just go ahead and make sure for your holiday season, go ahead and hit up Drip Show Shop on Facebook and Instagram. But Joe, I wanted to get it back to you, my friend, when it comes to what we see at the back end of the roster. I have great concerns, and I know that Search is out there. He is very sound in his reasoning. I don't know how the Lakers can get through another season only 6 or 7 deep. Because if Laravia doesn't pop, that means there's one less individual in there that's going to contribute to the team. And already it's a thin team, in my opinion. So with that, over the course of the 82 game season, there's going to have some bumps in the road, people sitting out, injuries, et cetera, et cetera. How do the Lakers find some depth, at least early on, as far as in the rotation for the first few months of the season, before we could talk about any trades happen?
I actually don't think it's so much the depth. I think it's can Dalton Connect, Laravia, the Marcus Smarts, can those guys be like a Vinnie Johnson off the bench? Can they understand their role that they're going to play 10 minutes one game, maybe 25 minutes the next game, and be just as effective? The Lakers need effectiveness from the bench no matter how many minutes, no matter how many shots they take. That's the difference right there. That's going to be the difference. Can they embrace it? Can they understand that when they're in there, they're each going to be the X factor, and they need those shots to go in when they're open, because they're going to get open shots. Teams are going to double team Luka. They're going to double team LeBron. They're going to drop back on DeAndre Ayton to try and get him to not maybe do his typical floater there from 2, 3, 4 feet away. Guys have to make shots, and they have to understand their roles. The identity of this team is going to need to be apparent probably right out the gate. And that's something that, in my view, is the most important part at this point. If there's no identity, if they're just going out there letting Luka do his thing and then letting LeBron do his thing, I don't know. I just don't see how there's going to be that cohesiveness that needs to be there when it matters. Because those moments where you make that important play at the end of the game, there's got to be some form of a system, an identity. So when we talk about 2020, what was going on then? 2021 even too. What was it? The Lakers had the ability to stop you at the end of games. And they were making timely shots at the end of the game. I know it was what seemed to be a one-off, but even AD was hitting clutch shots at the end of the games, right? But I think more important than that is the fact that you had guys like Rondo, you had like guys like Caruso, like KCP, staying in front of their guys, playing good team defense as well as their individual defense, and that set the stage, that set a precedent against the opponent, knowing that, hey, we're if these guys are going to be on us like flies on what, we're going to need to try extra hard to do that. And then of course, LeBron James did two things in those 2 seasons that I wish that the Lakers could have continued to do, but they couldn't do to roster construction. That was LeBron developed a mid-range game that was consistent throughout an 82-game season and playoffs for the first time in my LeBron viewing life. He had that pseudo Dirk Nowitzki patent one-legged shot at mid-range it wasn't even fair that he was able to hit those shots, and he was making them consistently. And then on top of that, they were running and gunning, and LeBron James running and gunning as a point forward might be his greatest. That right there might be the greatest play in basketball. You could argue that the Kareem hook shot, but I think LeBron, with his athleticism, his ability to control the ball and run and gun, and I know he's older now, he can't do that, but I would like to see Luka do that, and then LeBron can be the trailer and take advantage of not having the pound and ground in the half court offense, but maybe get some chippies here when he leaks out a little bit. And he, even if he doesn't get to the basket, LeBron running with Luka, maybe he's going to find somebody open if they're diving to the basket. So this is the stuff that JJ Redick has to figure out. If we can figure this out on a 10:30 Pacific Standard Time evening on a podcast, I'd like to think that JJ Redick and the coaching staff are thinking of the same thing when they're doing their film sessions and their analyzations. So
okay,
we'll find out. We'll find out here soon enough what the identity will be.
Curtis Ferris says, I'm hoping media day we find out a bit more about Adu Thiero. Looking forward to seeing his athleticism preseason. Seems to be 6'8" in loafers. Again, very athletic. Again, all the rookies that didn't get to play during the summer league. Eric Dixon, I believe Marcialonis' kid, among others that did not get to play due to injuries in the summer league. I'm not going to expect anything much from them once the season starts. In fact, the Exhibit 10s, you just hope that they can develop in the G League and finally get a call up from the Lakers near the end of the season. But with the Adu Thiero, Joe, you really can't expect too much out of him. Defensively, it looks like he might become the best athlete and defender on the team, possibly as even late this year or next year. The problem is he was a below 30% shooter in college from three from distance, and that is imperative that he at least becomes respectable, because we already see what happens when you have a defender that cannot play both sides of the ball or come even close to being an offensive threat, Joe.
Can't put too much on a rookie second-round pick who can't shoot. If he's catching lobs and he's smart enough to get to the basket and create space for himself to get those lobs, it's not likely to. You're not likely going to see him be an integral part of the team, and that's fine. It's okay. That's where development's going to be important. Even Caruso didn't develop up, but for a couple of years, right? And let's see what his work ethic is. If he has work ethic and he wants to get better and he can get better at shooting, then his athleticism and understanding basketball should come in as well. And then the Lakers can use him here in the next couple of years when I believe the Lakers will truly have a championship quality team, probably within 27. And then you have this guy that's an athletic freak that can jump out the building. That's a good asset to have down the road. Young and able to be athletic. You know how important that is. When you're athletic, you cover a lot of ground in terms of your basketball IQ because of your athleticism, and you can benefit the team in that realm, so that when your basketball IQ catches up to your athleticism, now you become a bigger asset and a regular rotational guy and someone that you can rely on getting easy baskets. So I'm going to answer Joe No Ball and the seeding question he has. So this is a discussion we've had for a few years. And if you look at the history of the champions, we talked about this a lot this last year. There hasn't been too many. There's only been 1 6 seed, and it's hard to say only because the current structure right now of the 7 through the 4 series of 7 only started in 2003. But this format, the 4 series before you win a championship, started in 1990. But the only difference is that the first round was a 5-game series, right? So I kind of put those together. So basically, you've had the same kind of setup, minus the 5 that's now the 7. You've had to win 4 series to win a championship since 1990. So that's 35 years. That's a pretty good barometer or a good idea of what that means, right? What the structure that is. You've had one team outside the top 3 seeds to win a championship. And that's the Houston Rockets in 1995. And
Which is
95
what
was an
Joe is
anomaly.
saying right now. So he is basing his whole theory off of something that happened decades ago.
Yeah, and even that happened 30 years ago. And that 95 season, remember, guys, this is I know I'm not discrediting Houston. It's very important that, yeah, I'm not
Hakeem's one of
discrediting
the
Houston.
greatest of all time.
Yes, Hakeem Olajuwon was hit. He was already in his prime years earlier, but he hit his super prime in 94, 95, and Houston deserved every bit of those championships. But if Michael Jordan does not retire, we don't know if that would have happened, right? And I know it's an if thing, but the point is, in 35 years, we've had one team win as a 6th seed. And then all the other teams that have won since are either a top 3 seed or more, or a 3 seed or more. That's it. And you had a couple of 4 seeds back in the 60s and 70s, but I don't even count that because you only had 4 teams go to the playoffs at that point, right? Like the 69 Celtics, they were the 4th team in terms of seeding in the 2 playoff series in 1969. So you can't really count that. It's only 4 teams that are going to the playoffs. So in 35 years, you've had one team that has gone outside the top 3 to win a championship, and that was 30 years ago. Seeding matters. It's very important to get home court advantage as much as you can in the playoffs because it's a drain on a team when you have to consistently play the first 2 games on the road because you rarely win those first 2 games. You could split it, but that's still not enough. Winning the first 2 games at home is more likely than you winning 2 games on the road. Plus,
Kurt Affair says, well, hold on. Let's just put Kurt Affair. I do understand the notion that as parity around the league increases, seeding probably mid to lower may not be as consequential as it used to be. But for now, at a higher level, I believe he believes it still makes a difference. And he's right. I mean, last year, Joe, four games separated 7 teams in the Western Conference. So essentially, you could say you could throw a blanket over teams 2 through 8. And almost all of them were pretty much competitive with each other. But the 1 seed, Joe, got every advantage of being a home seed and being a number 1 seed. They got Game 7 during Denver, and they got Game 7 against Indiana.
So getting to the finals it doesn't mean anything as a lower seed. Because how often do you see a Game 7 won by a road team? I'll tell you when. 2016 and then 1969.
What about what was Luka's with at Phoenix when they blew him up by 40? Was that
No,
Game 7?
I'm talking about the finals.
Oh, the finals. You're not talking about playoffs.
Yeah, because you have to understand, guys, every round zaps a team's energy more and more, no matter what happens in the series. I mean, you have to be the Lakers of 01 for it to not zap you, right? But or the Warriors of 17. It's you have to be so astronomically better than everyone else. Those are the only 2 teams in the last 25 years that I've seen that have been that dominant. There's been dominant teams. Like there's been good teams that have, won during their run and convincingly won. But those 2 seasons are, the Warriors went 16-1 in 17, and then the Lakers went 15-1 in 01. They were dominant. Other than those 2 years, it does zap your energy. It zaps that energy more and more. The pressure gets harder. From the Western Conference or Eastern Conference Finals to the finals is a gigantic leap. It's almost like college to pros. That series is draining to all hell. Every single possession, every single shot, every single stop zaps more and more energy from anybody. If you don't believe me, just talk to Kevin Garnett about Game 7. About Game 6 and Game 7 of the Celtics-Lakers finals. He says it himself. We could not move. They were done. They were drained. And so were the Lakers. It's just the Lakers made a couple more shots in the end to get out of that. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were home. That extra energy from the home crowd helps. So seeding still matters. Parity is starting to rear its head. I understand that, but until it becomes a consistent thing where you'll see a 5 seed like in baseball win it all, I'm going to rely on the fact that most of the teams that are winning championships are usually a 1 seed or a 2 seed. And if you look at the last, let's say since 2020, the Lakers were a 1 seed. They won it. Milwaukee, I believe, was a 1 seed, right, Gerald, in 2021?
Yes. I believe so, yes.
2022, what was the Golden State Warriors? Were they, I think they were they a 3 or
Yeah, they were
2?
not, I don't think they were number 1.
No. I think Phoenix was in 2022, right?
Yes.
Yes. So they were, I think, a 3 in 2022. But then again, Denver was Denver number 1? They were number 1 in 2023, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then Boston was 1 in 2024. So 2025, Oklahoma City. You see where I'm going with this? And 2022 was like the first year where they were finally out of the COVID thing, right? So people were still getting, I guess, their bearings together, if you will. But you're talking about 20, 21, 23, 24, and 25. 5 of the last 6 teams still were 1 seeds that won it all.
21, I think Miami was number 1 in the East.
Were they?
Or no one of it says 53 and 29, Miami Heat. In 21-22. And Milwaukee was 50, tied with Boston and Philadelphia at 51 and 31.
You're talking about 22, right?
21-22, yeah.
Yeah.
Miami Heat was the number 1, and Phoenix was number 1 in the West. So, yeah. Yep. Just checking on that. Why do you say that Golden State Warrior chip was a fluke? Best league. I mean, if somebody makes it through
It doesn't matter if it's a fluke because
playoffs,
that fluke saved the Lakers from being behind 2 championships. So I would embrace that fluke.
Yes. There you go. I'll give Joe on that one. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't understand why did you think it's a fluke? Because, I mean, to earn your way, Joe, through 3 rounds of playoffs just to get to the finals, I don't know how you could consider that a fluke. So, but okay, teach his own. I guess I'll leave it at that. But Joe,
so the Bucks were a 3rd seed in 2021.
Yeah, because they were tied. Like I said, they mentioned they had tied with Boston and Philadelphia with the same record. But yeah, by tiebreakers, they were 3rd. Yes.
Philly was the number 1 seed in the East that year.
No, not 21-22. No, it was
I'm
Miami.
talking about 21 because I had mentioned the Bucks won that
2021.
year.
Okay,
yeah,
2021.
So I made a mistake. It was 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So 4 of the 6 top champions were 1 seeds, not 5.
Okay.
But still a top 3. Still a top 3 seed. And the top 3 is really the sweet spot in most scenarios.
But again, last season was kind of different, Joe, in that 7 teams were within a matter of 2, 3, I think 3 games from each other in the standings, if I remember correctly. I'll look that up to make sure. But so a lot of these teams were very equal to each other. So you can see why Joe is saying that. But I would I would come back at you with this, because of the fact that the number one team had every home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs. They utilized that on 2 occasions to their maximum, winning 2 game 7s at home. Whether or not you want to give them the full props or asterisk because of Tyrese Halliburton, there's a good chance they still would have lost that game against Indiana, on how you see fit on that. So I just think that seeding is important. At least what Kurt says, at a higher level, 1 through 3, I think it is very important as far as that's concerned, especially because you're getting home court advantage, and that game 7 on your home court, the odds are extremely in your favor, Joe.
Yes, winning game 7s, the deeper you get into the playoffs at home, is going to be the easier way. No one's going to remember Oklahoma City playing game 7s unless they're Oklahoma City fans. All they're going to remember is Oklahoma City won the championship. They were the number 1 team. They had the best record. They had the MVP. The MVP won Western Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP. That's all anyone's going to remember. No one gives a damn about how, who, what. Halliburton being injured, sure. Guys like us will remember. We'll talk about it because we're detailed guys and we have a memory for it. But in the next 5 to 10 years, all that's going to be remembered is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Oklahoma City Thunder had one of the best seasons you could have for a team. The MVP up and down the playoff seeds, and then a championship to boot. The only thing the only thing that will change is, should they reinstate the Seattle Supersonics, the Oklahoma City Thunder may have their own championship, their own retroactive expansion team, but in the future tense. Mm-hmm. That's it. Which I think would be, which I think is what Adam Silver is going to do. So they'll return the Seattle Sonics history back to Seattle, and then Oklahoma City Thunder will be an expansion team after, what is it now, since 2010?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think would be best.
Absolutely. But we will
I'll
see.
answer the question of the Mike Tomlin thing real quick so I can get that out of the way.
You saw that Bloodhound put that by. And
yeah, I saw that.
Thought it might sneak its way through, but okay.
I got into some heat. I got some heat for my comments about Mike Tomlin earlier today.
With who?
With my Steeler Forum guys. Mike Tomlin has similar characteristics to Dave Roberts. One of the main ones is their inability to have a feel for the game when there's pressure. Now, Dave Roberts has a better track record of coming out on the positive end of things, and maybe that's because baseball allows that to happen more than in football. But Mike Tomlin is notorious for being wrong in the little details over and over again, and the inability to be prepared and the inability to make the right decisions at the crucial moments. Today's game was a really, really fun game until the last 10 minutes of the game. And then you saw the whole, anybody who watched that game saw how incompetent Mike Tomlin is as a head coach. Yeah. Just the incompetence is mind-boggling to me at how bad of a coach he is. And this is a guy that's going to go to the Hall of Fame. This is a guy that's never going to get fired by the Rooneys. And they're 3-1, and those looking from the outside going, Joe, you're nuts. You're always blaming the coach. You're always blaming the managers for everything. You're never happy. You're always criticizing after losses and then criticizing during wins even. I go, And I have to explain myself a little bit more. The more and more I feel like, even though you guys should know by now, this is a results business. You have to win, right? So maybe I'm hard on Dave Roberts a little bit right now because Dave Roberts did win last year. But I had to make it very clear that this year's team wasn't supposed to do what they did. This was constructed to be one of the greatest teams of all time. And they're not going to me, it doesn't make any sense to spend $500 million after taxes and luxury taxes, all that stuff, so that you could be on par with all the other teams. So the way to make up for it now is, well, they surely ended the year the way they were supposed to. And if they make a run here, sweep the Reds, beat Philly in 4, destroy Milwaukee, the Cubs, or San Diego in the NLCS, and then roll over anyone in the AL. I told Empire Jeff this, and I mean it. I will not say another negative thing about Dave Roberts or the Dodgers for the foreseeable future.
Are you feeling well?
You can't. I couldn't, out of sheer just respect for the fact that if you truly get beyond this and win the championship, I can't, in good conscience, criticize anymore. Back-to-back championships, and to win it the way they're going to win it, I can't. Even if they don't make the playoffs next year, I have to sit there and go, well, how often do you see a baseball team go back-to-back? It's very rare. The Yankees of the late 90s did it. Before then, you had the Toronto Blue Jays do it in 92 and 93. And then before then, you had, I believe, the Yankees in 77 and 78. It's a very rare. And then right before then, it was the Big Red Machine in 75 and 76. So you've only really had 2 teams in the last 35 years that have repeated.
Okay.
So I can't, and I can't expect the team to three-peat. Like if the Dodgers win it this year and they don't three-peat next year, you can't sit there and go, oh my God, I can't believe this, and this, and that. Even if you've got merit, even if Roberts really shits the bed, you can't. It's like, well, yeah. So I've given my word on that. But Mike Tomlin, you can't do that kind of stuff in football. Football is a little bit more rigorous. So I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do if they end up going 10-7 again and getting destroyed in the first round of the playoffs. I don't know. Probably the same thing.
Once again, it is Kirk Lazarus, a.k.a. Joe Soro, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget, I've got my team previews going strong. I did the Clippers, and it was so enjoyable to talk about the Kawhi gate with both Jared Knobloch and Ilian Lakhani, who write on the Clippers this past weekend. So you check out those 2 episodes that are coming up right now. If you remember, you can get them already at $2.99 a month. But if you want, you can go ahead and check them out later this week. But they're very interesting to see. Because you can only say so much if you write about the Clippers so that you can go ahead and stay on their good side. You don't stay on their bad side, but it is what it is. But go ahead and check out my latest interviews right there for you on the team previews. It's been a great series so far, and I'll keep on going tomorrow with Memphis. Looking forward to showing you guys that there for members, and then later on in the week for everyone else. But Joe, thank you, Search. As always, truly appreciate you stopping by, my friend. Yes, $2.99 a month for our memberships. But Joe, before we head on out, because I just wanted to hit up real quick what to look for in as far as what's going on with training camp. I know tomorrow, or I know Media Day, is so fun because we try to interpret all the player speak that we're about to hear. Some of it will be nauseating, some of it will be cringe-inducing, some of it will be like nails on a chalkboard because it's the same cliches that you hear every year. Everybody's in the best shape of their life. They're going to give it 110%, got championship goals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what are you looking forward to as far as for Media Day coming up? What is Joe? What do you think that Joe would like to hear coming out of Media Day? What would surprise you coming out of Media Day? That would be a pleasant surprise for you.
I actually would like LeBron to announce that this is his last year.
Jamie's right there with you.
I think that would be a great way to start. I think it would be poetic. Clayton Kershaw today pitched his last regular season game.
What a game, man.
And he won his 11th game this year. And I have this thought in my head of him closing out a World Series ninth inning like Buehler did last year and letting Kershaw go out in the most deserving way possible, especially with his past issues in the playoffs. And the more I think about it, the more I feel more and more bad. You know, the 2017 screw job was more about the guys who never got a chance to put something in their trophy case that they'll never get. You know, you had Andre Ethier. That was his last year. Andre Ethier was what Justin Turner was for years, right? For the Dodgers. He was that identifier for the Dodgers. He was kind of the heart and soul. He lost out on a championship. Yasiel Puig, even his erratic wild horse personality, he didn't get a chance to win. But more than that is Clayton Kershaw had a chance to close out a narrative that year, and he was on his way. He had pitched a brilliant game one and would have pitched a brilliant game five had those pieces of shit not cheated. And to put that in perspective, for those of you who don't know, and it's online, you can check it. Clayton Kershaw threw 52 off-speed pitches in that game. Gerald, do you know how many times there was a swing and miss on those that whole game?
How many?
0.
Nice.
That's not possible. That is not possible to not swing at 52 off-speed pitches from, in my view, the best pitcher of our generation. This generation. This last 15 years. So he would have likely won that game. Dodgers were up 4-0 and 7-4 in that game. He would have won that game. He would have won 2 games in that series. Dodgers likely closed out in game 6, and he would have probably won World Series MVP. And that'll never get made up. That'll never get made up, ever. But I think it would lessen the hit at least a little bit if the Dodgers can make a run here, get to the World Series, be up 3-1, 3-2 in that last game before they can close it out. And they're up 5-1 or 6-1, and Doc puts in Kershaw to close out the 9th inning and have him close out the ninth inning and run off to the sunset, right off into the sunset, because we're not going to see Kersh. We're not going to see Kersh after this. This is probably why Dodger fans are a little hurting right now. And even I'm kind of emotional about it. Not crying emotional, but just kind of feeling bad. Because Kershaw is actually one of those guys. him and his wife, they actually go and help people. They don't just send money to a charity. They go to other countries. They go to other places, and they actually really, really make a difference. And that is actually, to me, his legacy. And I'm upset with myself, even though I haven't done it in a while. It's been a few years because I got it out of my head. I was like very disappointed in myself and looking at Kershaw and the way I was looking at him. I was looking at him in my own selfish way of not getting what I wanted from him. But a lot of his playoff blunders made me think of him in a really negative way, and I really got mad at myself for allowing myself to do that. And I haven't since. It's been a while, and he is the best pitcher of our generation. He is arguably the greatest Dodger of all time. There's an argument there. Probably not for a lot. Sandy Koufax is obviously the guy that's probably in the lead right now, but I didn't see Sandy pitch, so I can't use that as my own, right? But for me, Clayton Kershaw is the best Dodger, I believe, ever. And it would be really, really beautiful. It would be a beautiful thing if he can end it in such a good note, end it in the way that Buehler ended it last year, and taking it home and closing it out and winning it all.
We will find out. It'll be interesting to see what happens at Media Day. SB, I'll just say this about Bryce. Remember, obviously heart attack aside, Bronny only averaged 5 points a game. Remember the famous Joe rant where he said he could average 5 points a game in college? That's one of your classic ones. So Bryce only has to average 5 points a game to start thinking about going to the NBA. So we'll see how he progresses at Arizona. I'll just leave it at that. JSJ, is Michael Jordan the Undertaker of the NBA? I don't know. I mean, depends on who you think the GOAT is. If you think the GOAT is Ric Flair, if you think the GOAT is Steve Austin, if you think the GOAT is The Rock, if you think the GOAT is Shawn Michaels, it all depends on who you think the GOAT is. And then we'll leave it at that. Then I would probably put it there. So, sorry, John.
The greatest wrestler?
That's what he's talking about. Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan the Undertaker of the NBA, and I would not put Undertaker as my GOAT. He's up there.
I don't see how. I cannot see how Hulk Hogan is not the greatest wrestler of all time. The man dominated as a heel and as a babyface equally. He spanned two eras, the two greatest eras in wrestling. And I know Hulk Hogan had his issues behind the curtain. I know his skill set wasn't displayed like it maybe should have. He did a lot of the real wrestling when he was in Japan. Didn't need to do it in America because America wanted to see the flash. He gave the people the thing that Hogan did, and it's something that doesn't get talked about enough because most people don't look at it that way, is he truly worked off the crowd. The crowd is what his focus was always about. Before they had that infamous match before he had that infamous match with The Rock wanted to rehearse. And Hogan looked at him like, what do you rehearse what? I don't go off rehearsing. I go off the crowd. Hogan always thought of the business of I know he came off arrogant and all that stuff and a little prissy. I get that. I'm not saying he didn't do that stuff. But in the end, it's hard for me to look at some of the matches where he did job and say, well, this guy always had to be his way. That's not true. He took the torture rack, and it's still my favorite ending to a wrestling match ever. Bret Hart.
Mm.
Bret Hart against Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam when he put him in the sharpshooter with his tights ripped. The pin with Davey Boy Smith where Bret Hart lost. Those are the three endings that I remember thinking, man, wow, like I couldn't believe it. But the forever will for me, number one is Luger racking Hogan on Nitro. And watching Hogan quit, like I was like, what? So he did do that. He did take the losses like that, and it came down to business. And I don't think anybody did it better than Hogan. I just don't think anybody did it while being positive or negative. I don't think anybody did. Michael Jordan, Hulk Hogan was the Michael Jordan of wrestling.
I disagree. I would say it's Flair. Flair had more great matches over the course of a longer period of time than Hogan. And while you would say Hogan obviously elevated as far as crowd response and elevated the sport and industry with his obviously ascension and rise in pop culture, I can't argue that. As far as who is the greatest professional wrestler from both a standpoint or from a technical standpoint, creating a match, building to a match, promos, etc., going all over the world to defend against people in other territories all around the world for decades. I still got to go with Flair, and that's just me. But again,
from a wrestling standpoint, yes. But Hogan. He was the superhero. Ric Flair was a real guy.
I know what he was to a lot of people, but he wasn't to me. I even couldn't stand him even then. It was very
that's fine. But what I mean by the superhero, that was the image that he created.
No, I know that. Yeah. That's what they did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hulkamania. It was something that
it's hard.
Absolutely.
When you look at Michael Jordan was a superhero. Hogan was a superhero. Ric Flair was the real deal. Like even Austin was the real deal. And even though Austin, I think in the end, when you look at Austin's career, I think commerce, the internet hit at the right time for him, so that merchandising wise, obviously he kicked ass above anybody on that, right? Because that's just how technology worked at that time. Late 90s is right when the internet started getting big, and the ability to watch things was a little easier because you had more options. But I just can't see how a guy who was essentially at the top of his game in two different eras of the best eras of wrestling, the golden age of the 80s and then the attitude era of the 90s, and right in the middle of everything was Hulk Hogan. And you say Hulk Hogan.
Again, a lot for me has to go as far as what was inside the ring. And while I agree, his wrestling in Japan was much more substantial and substantive. Again, what he did inside the ring and outside the ring, creating the image of that personification of greatness, that he just had much more of an extensive run than even Hogan did. Because when Hogan started to come to rise in WWE, Flair was already at that level. So again, both great careers, fantastic careers, but I still have to give the slight edge to Hogan, even though in the chat, yes, Austin 316 peaked even more than what Hulkamania did at the time. That is the highest level. The Attitude Era is the highest level of success, I believe, at any time for the industry, when you had the Attitude Era and NWO colliding on every Monday at the same time. That, I think, is the peak of wrestling, and I don't think Joe would argue with that.
Calling LeBron the John Cena of the NBA, I think, is a good comparison.
Mm-hmm.
There's a polarization of John Cena, much like LeBron. And since we're talking about training camp. I'll kind of revert back to what the question was before we segued a little bit. I think things would get very interesting if what Jamie said comes true. LeBron announces that this will be his final year. I think that would be very, very motivating to start this season knowing that LeBron is going to play his last season and try and squeeze everything you can this year to make one last run. He'll get his congratulatory things, and he'll have spent 8 years, double the time he spent in Miami. And man, maybe we can get lucky and maybe send him home with a title, right? So I think that'd be a good way to start. I think that would make me very excited about the season even more. And it would make the All-Star game more meaningful, knowing that this will be LeBron's last All-Star game. Be last time playing in Cleveland during the year, last time playing in Miami during the year. He'll have his last time playing at the Crypt. So you'll have all these moments that you'll be able to kind of enjoy and celebrate one of the greatest players of all time. And we start to forget about the negatives of LeBron, on the things that have bothered us about LeBron. I think that'd be a nice change for at least for a lot of us to get away from and just focus on that. Yeah, Kobe. I was fortunate that Kobe announced his retirement. I think it was at the beginning of December, because a few weeks before then, I was I was in New York. Just coincidentally, I was in New York at the same time the Lakers were in town. I saw my first game at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Beautiful stadium, by the way. Beautiful arena. It felt like I was at Staples, but it was dark and black and gray. I actually really liked it. And then it took me about halfway through the first quarter, when they played the Knicks a couple days later, to get a ticket, to scalp a ticket outside. Got in halfway through the first, finally got in there. I think I paid a couple $100 for that ticket at the time. Got in, and I have video footage of a lot of that game too from my phone. Watched Kobe play his last game at Madison Square Garden. Had he announced his retirement before that weekend, I am positive that ticket would have been $1,000. So I'm glad that Kobe waited a month before he announced his retirement. I was able to watch him play his last game at Madison Square Garden, even though it was a loss, and have that memory and have that footage forever. I thought that was one of the cool moments of my sports life.
But there you go. Your sports and sports entertainment talk for the evening. Again, talking about, of course, what we're pro wrestling, of course, NFL, baseball. We talk about, in fact, we are going to probably do another Lakers Fast Break radio show later this week. So look forward to that. 3 more hours of us talking about the world of sports in a segmented format. Hopefully that will become a regular thing on this channel or at your local radio station near you. But Joe, it's been a great, or excuse me, Kirk Lazarus, it's been a great time. Looking forward to what will be said at Media Day, and then, of course, coming at what's going to be done at training camp. But any last thoughts before we head on out?
Yeah, the Kirk Lazarus thing has been growing lately in my head. I just there's a lot of talk on whether the current climate would allow a sequel to Tropic Thunder. My answer to that is, if South Park and Family Guy do some of the content that they do on their shows, I'm pretty sure we all can handle a Tropic Thunder Part 2. The only problem is Tropic Thunder was a masterpiece of comedy. And a lot of times in art, comedy is an art. Movies are an art. TV is an art. Not all the time, but that's usually, a good story, a good media quality story is what that it's there's an art, and art sometimes is about timing. It's about what the current culture is at that time. I don't know if it's possible to be funny like it was then. I think people's humor is different now. Besides the politically correct stuff, especially with comedy. Comedy is very difficult. It's very difficult to make a good comedy. You have to have the right actors. It's not like making a horror film or a martial arts film where the basis of the success of those kind of genres are because of the actual reason why you're going there, which is to see people fight or see people die. Comedy it's very subjective. Some people can look at Vince Vaughn and say, oh man, this guy's funny. Will Ferrell, oh, this guy's funny. And then some I've heard say, I can't stand Vince Vaughn. He's an obnoxious slob. And then, of course, Will Ferrell has his detractors and saying all this guy does is yell when he's trying to be funny. And I don't really care for it, right? So yeah. I think if you're going to do something, I think Robert Downey Jr. could still carry something like that. And I would do something that's more in tune with just Kirk Lazarus and his story. And then you can throw in the other guys like Les Grossman and then Ben Stiller's character and all those guys. But I don't think there should be a Tropic Thunder 2. I think there should be a story of Kirk Lazarus.
No, I don't. No, not Kirk Lazarus. Les Grossman. That should be a full Les Grossman movie. I would pay a ticket for that.
5-time Academy Award-winning actor Kirk Lazarus as whatever character that they decided to finally go with when if they were to get, and have Les Grossman be the producer of that particular film and then create a story around that. I think that would probably be a safer bet because you're not gonna, Top Gun, Maverick. I think once again, I think the timing of that was perfect. I think they put enough nostalgia in there with the right action, the planes, right? And they were able to make it work at the right time because people were waiting for something like that at that time, especially after what was going on with COVID.
I'll tell you what, if Les Grossman does a full movie, just him berating Bill Hader and Matthew McConaughey for 2 hours, I'm all in for that. That would be just great. Search
when he yells at Flamin' Dragon is,
yeah.
I was laughing pretty good. I was in hysterics. The guy's reaction, the main guy in Flaming Dragon, he's looking at his phone.
It's such a great movie. It was such a different time. It's such a great movie. All those movies from 2003 to 2010, those comedies, it's just priceless. I think that's one of the last great. Yeah. I think it's the last great era of comedy is that time frame.
You're right, and I think the 2008 was the last year I remember as an ensemble in terms of ensemble.
Would you put Hangover Part 2 as the ending of that?
Well, I didn't dislike Hangover 2. I would
definitely put Hangover 1 in it. So
Hangover 1 was good, but I think the ending made it great. And sometimes that happens. Because I remember watching the movie, it was like, it wasn't bad. And then the ending made it great, right? Yeah. 2008, to me, was the last great movie year. You remember in the 90s, you had 94, 93, it was just like, when you look at the catalog in 95, 94, it's ridiculous. All the the Pulp Fictions and the Forrest Gumps and the Shawshank Redemptions and the Schindler's List. I was like, you're looking at these films. I'm like, Jesus, every film was off the charts, right? '08 was the last one I can remember. You had No Country for Old Men. You had There Will Be Blood. You had The Dark Knight. You had Tropic Thunder. I mean, you had things. You had Iron Man. They were like, that was the last year I remember that had that just every weekend, except maybe in March or in January, where you had phenomenal films, at least one great film a month. Great film a month. And then the summer was like one great film every week. That was the last year. So I don't know if we'll ever get to that. I don't know if we'll ever get there. There's so much negativity online, and it's controlled by an entity that isn't real half the time. It's saboteurs. It could be international, it could be local, it could be domestic, whatever. But there's so much hate that drives a mind, even if it's not coming from a real place. You almost have to get out. You almost have to remanipulate. I know that word doesn't make sense, but manipulate or re-manipulate the audience that's reading the trash out there and the bad reviews on something. When I'm like, wait a minute, this movie wasn't bad. Why is it so bad?
But that's again, a good question, JSJ, because somebody who is really respected now, who was pushed upon us for years and didn't get and the audience really didn't like that, but eventually became a superstar that everybody appreciates. That's a good question. He's asking, who is the Roman Reigns of the NBA?
You could say SGA.
How so? Because he wasn't pushed upon us, and everybody didn't poo-poo on. Because remember, late 20 teens, McMahon, he was his guy, and everybody just could not stand it. They just could not stand it. And then during the transition, during COVID, during the earlier part of this decade, he really became the champion that was meant to be in the first place.
I would say, I don't know if anybody can really get pushed in the NBA to be something. I'd say that the name that popped up just now is Lamar Jackson.
Maybe Anthony Edwards?
Could be Anthony Edwards, but is the NBA really pushing him?
I know they would like to.
Why would they want him to be pushed? He's everything wrong about the NBA.
He might be the best American player in the NBA.
Were they pushing Giannis? Maybe, not really. I think the NFL has been pushing Lamar Jackson more than any player that I can remember.
Okay.
I'd say if there was a Roman Reigns,
I'm not saying I disagree with you on that.
If there was a Roman Reigns in sports, I'd say it's Lamar Jackson. That's the first name that popped in my head when you guys sent that.
Oh, that's a good one. We're going to end this on the good note, good laugh. Kurt Affair says the NBA is pushing Anthony Edwards the way he pushes the morning after pill.
Yeah, and that plays a big part for me. I think willing deadbeats, to me, I have zero respect for. To me, they're no different than.
That Kurt Affair left that comment. I thought it was funny. So we'll just leave it at that.
I loathe Anthony Davis. I loathe Tyreek Hill. I think those guys are the scum of the earth. They're not murderers or something like that, but they dilute society. They don't make society better. They make it worse. I don't want to end this on a Anthony Edwards, Tyreek Hill story. So I'm gonna two scumbags in my book. Wemby.
I think he could be the real deal.
I know he can be the real deal, but there's something, I don't know why. There's something going on in my head about Wemby that I don't know what it is, but I'm not fully in yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. I don't know if it's because he's French. I don't know if there's a possibility that he might not make it for the long haul. I don't know. I have to let it marinate a little bit.
Kurt Affair says Cooper Flag the next face the league is trying to push. Yes.
No.
I think I
don't think Cooper Flag will be that guy.
But I'm saying is he the next face the league is trying to push right now? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the TV listings, yes.
I don't know if the NBA has a face right now. Still LeBron.
Won't. But
the face is still LeBron. And a little bit of Steph Curry.
But hopefully it'll be Luka by the time this year's up.
Luka is my pick after LeBron.
Uh-huh.
But Luka's going to have to win. He's going to have to win it all. I think that'll set him. That'll definitely put him in the one spot.
So with that, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. A truly great conversation, everyone. Truly cannot thank you enough. Again, check out Best League's trade proposals on our YouTube channel. He's put a nice article, put some real time into it, so go ahead and check it out. Channeled is Inner Laker Tom. And then, of course, my team previews will continue all week long right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So, Joe, any experiments coming anytime soon?
I was going to have a show tonight, but because I unexpectedly went mobile today more than I thought I would, the plan is to have something for tomorrow so that we can have a little preview of upcoming wild card series, which MLB needs to really figure out what this is. A division winner playing in a wild card series that could take them out in 2 games is a stupid, absolutely stupid decision. And it's always something, I know, but I'll have a show tomorrow. I'll talk a little bit about it. I'll talk a little bit about the Steelers this weekend in the NFL. Tonight's game was great, and the fact that it ended in a tie really. I was watching it. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth said some stuff at the end of the game that actually made me laugh. They're like, "Well, thanks for inviting us to the party." And that was a good way to put it, because I just sat there looking at everybody congratulating themselves, and I'm like, is this really a tie? Did this really end as a tie? Whose idea was to make overtime 10 minutes?
It's just ridiculous, Joe. You know what? College figured it out a lot better than the pros. I understand it was a great game. Absolutely was a great game. I'm not going to, Serge was absolutely right when he said that. But again, I thought the idea with this new overtime rules or the recent changes on the overtime rules was to avoid exactly what we saw tonight, Joe. A tie, a kissing your sister again.
I think it was worse. I think this was like going out on a date with a really, really hot chick and everything's hitting. She's laughing at your jokes. You had a great meal. You watched a funny movie. She loves your car. The night weather was great. And then right when you're ready to handle business, there was a fire in the building and no one could go back in there all night. That's pretty much what it felt like.
Again, just what a waste. What a waste. Because again, the tie it should not have ties in football. It just never mind.
Look, I'm not gonna go negative on the NFL because I actually have felt that the first month of football has been some of the best that I can remember, and a lot of it started with the fact that the NFL brought back the kickoff. I think the new kickoff rule is excellent. I like the fact that you haven't heard in the first month where refereeing has really cost a team a win. I think they've really, really gotten good at not calling those stupid penalties on rough hits. So I'm not gonna dog on the NFL. I'm not gonna sit there and say too much about some of the things that maybe need to be changed. But this one does need to be changed. I don't know why they cut it to 10 minutes. I mean actually I do know why, because it's less chance of somebody getting hurt. But 10 minutes goes by so quick in overtime, and if I think they should definitely start thinking about adopting, either put it back to 15 minutes, either put it back to 15 minutes, because I think there's a better chance of not having a tie if there's 5 more minutes, or you have to score a touchdown instead of a field goal in overtime, something like that. Because I don't think they're going to ever want to do the college thing where they put the ball at the 25.
Seems to work. That's all I'll say. Seems to work. All right, but on that note, it is the Lakers fast break.
Or what they could do is, there's a couple ways to do it. I don't know. It just takes away the integrity of the game. Did you? You know, I find it hilarious. Don't you think it was less ties when it was just sudden death?
Again, I don't know. I don't have the statistics on me, but maybe it just feels like that. But yeah, just this isn't working.
To make it easy, I think I would just put it back at 15 minutes, and then each team gets a chance. And then at that point, if it's a tie, it's a tie. Then the hell with it.
I hate ties. All right. On that note, it is, of course, Gerald Glassford along with Kirk Lazarus, a.k.a. Joe Sorrell. Please support Joe Sorrell today at SimBlades.com.
Yes, support me, please.
The Joe Sorrell experiment. And then, of course, big shout out to Danbury Sports Highlights, Empire Jeff, of course, Legend, of course, Alfred Esmond, all the great people. Drip Show Shop for all your, great collectible and canvas art and t-shirt and hat needs. Go support Chris. He is truly doing a great job. I am very privileged. I got to put up that canvas art that he got me. I've got it sitting right over here of Kobe, so that you guys will be able to see it every time I go on the air. That will be happening in the days coming forward. But yes, looking forward to a good week, possibly a Lakers Fast Break Radio, and of course more on Media Day and Training Camp, always coming up for you right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.